finally time to end this long chapter. Don't worry, there is not going to be a 4-part chapter again in this game. There are a few 2-part chapters in Radiant Dawn, but they're nothing like this. You're not the one who should be apologizing here. They're the ones who sold you into slavery. Yeah, see, Timon's being reasonable here. I think it was pretty easy to see that connection coming. Well, we're actually doing it to help you, but you don't know that yet. But at least they won't today. Meanwhile, one human is going to pay on this day. It's the final reckoning. Your deluded pursuit of beauty is over. And of course, he's still going for the heron. So it's time to finally end this. And thankfully, Jill's in a pretty good position here. Oh yeah, if you've actually been diligent with your reinforcements, you'll deploy in a star formation. It's kind of funny looking. But anyway, the enemies here are actually quite a bit stronger than what we're used to. As you can see, we've got level 17 to 18 unpromoted enemies, and some pretty strong promoted enemies too, including some, well, at least one general over here, Pegasus Knight, which is interesting. Some with a Meteor Tome here. Now, I like to have a flyer take him out quickly, because Meteor is very bad to have to deal with. And here is the main thing in this chapter to that you want to get. Not Oliver, it's the guy standing right next to him. This halberdier with the Adept Scroll. Now, here's the way this chapter is going to work. Oliver is here. This is a defeat boss chapter. Oliver is going down here, regardless of what happens. But if you're not quick, Oliver will not be falling by your hand, let's just say. So, the goal of this chapter is to rush over here and get the Adept Scroll before Oliver gets brutally destroyed. Also, Oliver has no skills, apart from this class skill of bishops that just lets you use light magic. And apart from his insane luck stat, his magic... Like, look at this. His magic is 9. How did he even do anything to Rayson back in Chapter 16? I have no idea. Also, yeah, his resistance is huge, but he's going to die pretty quickly with physical weapons. Also, he has Nosferatu, which you won't be able to use if you're not using Rice, but it drains HP. With Oliver's terrible stats, it's not going to really do all that much. Also, I believe Oliver is the one boss in the game to have different stats on Maniac mode as compared to hard mode. Not that it really matters. But anyway, I remember back when I probably should leave this discussion for the actual chapter itself, but let's go. I remember back in the day when this game first came out, a lot of Westerners who weren't who only knew of the Western release Fire Emblem games, a lot of them were really confused that Nosferatu was light magic in this game. Because Nosferatu was dark magic in the GBA games, and that made sense because, you know, vampire, dark magic, draining. The name made a lot of sense. And so seeing it as light magic here, which is like the exact opposite of vampires, a lot of people thought that was bizarre, but it turns out that Nosferatu has a pretty long history in the series that now, thanks to remakes, Western Fire Emblem fans will be aware of. Gonna probably have to do this, but I will need to move Boyd away from the starting area because there are gonna be some pretty powerful knight reinforcements spawning from up there. Thankfully, the swamp here, there's just a couple of swamp tiles here that are gonna massively delay these knights from getting to us, so you don't need to worry too much about being overwhelmed yet. I will have to use Heart of Fire here, unfortunately. So, Nosferatu originated in Gaiden as the standard offensive spell of clerics. So, even though light magic didn't really exist in that game, it was cleric magic there, so it was essentially light. Then in Fire Emblem 3, Nosferatu, which by the way is called Rizaya in the Japanese version, so its name is a little bit more neutral there. Nosferatu was a standard offensive tome in that game that, that Linda started with. Was it female only in that game? I forget if it was or not. I know that there was some kind of restriction on it. So yeah, then Nosferatu appeared in Genealogy as actually an outright light tome this time, and Julia could obtain it during Chapter 6 if you visited the right castle, and she had the choice between either that or Aura. Nosferatu was a billion times better than Aura in that game, because Aura was so stupidly heavy that Julia could never double anyone with it, so you did not want to use Aura. Aura was kind of also one of the reasons why Deirdre was terrible, because that was her main offensive spell for most of the game. I might want to smite Titania, actually, just to get her in range of that guy there. Also, this guy's kind of stuck because he's surrounded by thickets. Kind of like cavalry in... Yeah, I'll have to move from this to want to do that. In Heroes. So yeah, Nosferatu appeared in that game. I actually forget if Nosferatu was in Thracia. I haven't played that game in a while, but I don't know if it was or not. And then Nosferatu wasn't in FE6, I think, because FE6 was very limited in terms of what types of weapons were available and what wasn't. Yeah, it was kind... Can I... Oh, I can't even shove you from behind. But yeah, FE6 was very limited in terms of what types of weapons were available. For example, the spear and the tomahawk were both enemy exclusive in that game. Which was kind of weird, but oh well. And, well, I mean, I guess I should say, technically speaking, Nosferatu was an FE6 in the Japanese version, because Fenrir is called Nosferatu in Japanese. So when they were localizing FE7, for some reason they decided to swap that name with the name of the draining dark magic spell. And so Dark Magic Nosferatu was born, and the name made sense then, because it was dark magic, and, you know, vampires, dark magic. Makes perfect sense. So then FE7 was dark magic, FE8 was dark magic, that was all fine. And then this game happened, and Nosferatu suddenly became light magic, and everyone was really confused, but it turns out Nosferatu started out as light magic, so it really was just returned to its original form. But the name is now really ironic, so that's what happened. Then in Awakening, Nosferatu became dark magic again. And, I mean, yeah, it was in Fates, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure it was in Fates. Awakening Nosferatu was kind of ridiculously broken, though. I might need to physic Jill, because she's going to have to fly out on her own and go for that Adept Scroll. You really want to head for that Adept Scroll quickly, because Adept is a fantastic skill, and please don't block Jill, please don't block Jill. I don't think you're going to block Jill. And if you're not quick enough, you're not going to be getting it. I think on my first playthrough, I definitely didn't get that. Heavy Spear, that's kind of a strange weapon for you to be using. And no crits in 2 attacks with a killing edge. That's very abnormal of Stefan. I'm a little suspicious. Yeah, you're moving last for some reason. Meteor doesn't have the best accuracy, but when it does hit you, it tends to hit pretty hard. Oh, hi, Pegasus Knight. So yeah, that's just the basic history of Nosferatu. Okay, turn 2, nothing special is going to happen, but that is going to change later. And we're going to be attacked by these knights sooner. That steel bow was annoying. Can't double you, though. But this might do it. Nephany needs to catch up a little bit. It's only because she was stuck kind of early in the map. I mean, like, towards the first point of the map in the last one. Thanks to your inability to reposition people. I don't know why they did that here, but it's just... yeah, it's just like, let's make it so they can't reposition people in the Serenes Forest chapter. And yeah, these guys are still going to take ages to actually reach us because of just one tile of swamp. Well, I'm doubling you. So might as well go for that. I'll need to clear out some of the enemies around us and then fight these knights. Cue Sonic and the Black Knight music. That game seems incredibly controversial. Like, a lot of fans think it's better than Secret Rings, and it got really savaged by critics, though. But I think everyone agrees that game's music is amazing. I love the Sonic and the Black Knight OST. I didn't really like Secret Rings' soundtrack all that much, but Black Knight was just... that was a really good soundtrack. Anyway... wow, Heart of Fire is really making a difference against this guy. Speaking of which, I actually did, I found the lyrics to the Super Smash Bros. Brawl version of the Fire Emblem theme. I translated them into Japanese and then back into English again. And so now I have the lyrics to the Heart of Fire song. I think my... like, there's a lot of really good lyrics that came out of that. That Google Translate. I think one of my favorites is, there is a spear headed to our house. And then something about, like, there's a bit in one of the later verses about a photographer. Google Translate is always pretty fun. Though I mean, I'm sure I've told this story before, but in doing my translation classes at university, I actually learned how Google Translate works, which is interesting. It's basically a database of hundreds and, like, thousands of translations from all over the internet, and it looks at something and then it compares across every translation that it has in its database to see if it can find some kind of vague match, and then it guesses at what the translation would be based on that. We actually had to, like, one of our assignments for the translation class was to program a machine translator like that. Which mostly just involves loading it up with tons and tons of sample translations. So we had to find some free sample translations online and just put them all in. But yeah, Google Translate is good for individual words, but not for whole sentences. It's much better than it used to be, though. I remember a time when Google Translate was like a lot of dodgy fan subs and would insert a whole lot of swearing for no reason. I would really... Oh, actually, who am I kidding? Miss has a physics staff. I don't need to worry about her getting next to someone or not. However, I need to have her heal Jill, so I'll probably still need to shove her. Let me just check. 11. So you got 5 range on physic. And I'm going to need to get these people away from this start part of the map because there are going to be things coming. Just going to make sure that Mist is safe there. She actually isn't from that Pegasus Knight. And 16 speed. I mean, she doesn't get doubled, but still. And I can't exactly rescue her. How much danger is Jill in? Do I need to heal her? She will be taking a lot of hits. Good thing about Meteor is that it can't counterattack at close range, so... Is there a position I can have Miss go in where she can heal Jill without getting in the Pegasus Knight's range? Definitely not. Okay, then. I hope this doesn't backfire. I should be promoting this with bonus experience pretty soon. Because we're approaching the point in the game where that really, really helps. No, I want this guy dead now. Because that Meteor is... It could potentially kill someone. I'm remembering back to FE4 where Meteor actually reduced your movement to 0 just by equipping it, but I don't think you ever had access to Meteor, like, playable-wise in that game. I don't want to have Jill go right next to... And I also need to be careful because I don't want Jill to get surrounded by Armor Knights, because she needs to whack that guy. She'll probably need to use her Forge Lance to do it too. Hello, Pegasus Knight. Surely Ike is a more tempting target than Mist, right? Yeah, they're like, oh, she's gone that way. Let's follow her. The life of an Armor Knight. Never quite being able to get where you need to go. Also, you're exactly Gatry except, red. That was nice. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I really like the general defeat animations in this game, the way they sort of kneel down like that. Okay, I hope Soren's okay. He probably is. Actually, Titania's in a little bit of danger. I say that and she dodges. She's starting to drop off a lot in usefulness at this point, but she's still pretty good. And that's an Iron Axe. I thought it was a Pole Axe for a second, but it looks like that on the map models, but... And once again, Gatry just takes no damage at all, even from Weapon Triangle Disadvantage, because he's Gatry. Well, actually, it's mostly the Night Ward, but still. Though, I would have... Oh, that's a Pole Axe! I knew there was one Pole Axe there. Still isn't going to do much, though. And I thought you'd get double because Pole Axes are stupidly heavy. I like they introduced Pole Axes into heroes with Jerome. Is he the only way to get Pole Axes now, though? Because that's the thing, with all of the Tempest Trial rewards, I've, you don't have a Javelin equipped, yeah, you don't. I've kept both the 4-star and 5-star versions of them, even though I haven't trained up the 4-stars. I don't want to merge them because they're rare. So I just kind of like to keep them where they are. And I sort of like to keep them as trophies too, so I wouldn't really want to skill inheritance them, even though I don't use skill inheritance anyway. Which freaks out a lot of people, but it's just... It's like how I don't use reclassing in Shadow Dragon. I just don't... I just feel like it defeats the point of everyone being unique. And that is... Ow. Yeah, Miss is going to need to get out of there now. At least you couldn't Canto. because you'd probably just canter into the trees and I wouldn't be able to get to you, and then this would probably die next turn. This is a bit of a waste of her Forge Lance, but it was the only way that I'd be guaranteed to finish off the Meteor guy last turn. Oh, hi, Pegasus Knight. Well, at least one of the Pegasus Knights is going to die this turn. Enemy Pegasus Knights actually look kind of cool in this one. Also, yeah, you don't often see the Pegasus Knight death animations either. I just realized something. Is this the only time in the game you fight Pegasus Knights? Because, kind of spoilers, but from now until the very end of the game, it's basically just Dayan that will be fighting, and Dayan doesn't use Pegasus Knights, so you almost never fight Pegasus Knights in this game. It's funny how I'm only just now realizing that, but they're not very common in this one. And here is the reason why this chapter is essentially timed. Rayson notices something. So we have some NPCs helping us. Some very, very powerful NPCs. And Janeth immediately transforms too. Tibon's kind of overpowered. So I'll explain it more once I'm able to show their stats. Rayson mostly stays out of things, and that's why you don't want to have people too close to the starting point. In fact, I'm going to need to be very, very careful of Mist here. I may have to rescue her with Mordecai. I suppose Ike can go ahead and try and finish this thing off. I still find it funny the longsword is the best weapon he has for accuracy. But Ike actually needs to be careful here. Also, that Pegasus Knight needs to die, I just realized that. But I should probably go ahead and show these NPCs and the reasons why this map is effectively a time mission. This is Tibon. This beak makes him immune to criticals, as if he needed that. Also, he has this. This is Legu's Royals only. It's the Demiband, except it has no drawbacks. So, Legu's Kings can stay transformed all the time. Also, he has this skill, which gives him a skill % chance of completely nullifying one enemy attack. Also, he has this, which is one of the best skills in the entire game, but only when you're actually playable. NPC Tibon isn't going to rescue anyone. So, Tibon is insane. Janeth is also pretty powerful. Ulki won't transform for a little while, but he's not bad. We also have Rayson here, who can't really do much. We'll find out how Rayson works in, well, let's just say fairly soon. But here's one other cool thing about them. If you scroll through the NPCs, yep, you can actually look at Leanne's stats. Not a lot of people know this, but because you can scroll through every NPC, here's Leanne. Here are her stats. You can even compare her to her brother. She has a lot more resistance than he does. Doesn't have any skills, though. And she does have wind affinity. Leanne actually does have a full set of growth rates, and she even has an escape quote in the game's data, but she's... I guess I can spoil this now. She's not actually playable. But it is interesting that you're actually able to see her stats like that. I kind of want Nephany to take you down. Even though she can't actually do that, unfortunately. Okay. Mordecai might need to do that. Now all of his stats are just shooting through the floor, but we should be able to do this. Yeah, all of the reinforcements from up there have bows. I don't know why they, like, maybe they expected you to have Jill near the start point of the map or something? I don't know. Actually, I need to be very careful of Volk here. Let's see how Soren goes. Yeah, he has a pretty decent chance of getting hit by these guys. But if Soren kills off one of them, this is going to be crazy, but they might all go for him. As long as he dodges at least one or so of them, I think he should be okay. He has a better chance of dodging if Ike's nearby, but I don't really want to put Ike there because then Ike will probably get attacked a lot and doubled, and then issues may... Oh, there's also that Pegasus Knight, but it's not like that Pegasus Knight's really that dangerous. Oh, actually, Volk is not in range now. That's good. I really hope Boyd... Oh, Boyd's probably getting doubled, isn't he? I may have to do this. Yeah, see, here's where the Savior skill is really good to have on your side. But we don't have that at this point, yet. But Savior is amazing. It's one of the best skills in the game. Especially for speedrunning. Kind of surprised that it's not in... Oh, well, I mean, I guess rescuing works totally differently in the newer games, so... Makes sense for it to not be, but... Anyway. So, here's what I wanted to do. And that is to destroy you and grab your skill scroll. Because, yeah, like I said, if you're not quick, Oliver will not be falling by your hand. Also, something interesting about Oliver is that he has a lot of special boss conversations, and most of them are really hilarious and or great. Like, Devdon actually has a really good one with him. Maureen has some really choice words to say to Oliver. Most of the Lagoos do. Ike has some pretty great lines. There are a lot of special boss quotes for Oliver, but good luck actually getting people to him. Because, yeah. It's very, very difficult to actually reach Oliver without, flyers. Okay, that dodge is good. And, of course, you're getting doubled. Now I just have to hope that Mordecai is good enough to survive getting doubled by all of these guys. But I'm glad they're going for him over Soren. He's probably tanky enough to take this. Oh yeah, and because he equipped the Demi-Band last time, he automatically has it active now. Okay, please, boss, don't kill Mordecai. I have my fingers on the soft reset combination just in case he does. Okay, that miss is probably enough. Double miss. Double miss while carrying someone. That's actually very impressive. And that's why Kanto's annoying. Because now I probably can't kill that paladin. And I'll be ending this chapter next turn because Oliver is going down. Tibon is going to waste no time in tearing Oliver to pieces. He seems to prioritize Oliver, so... On my first playthrough, Tibon got the kill on Oliver. He usually does if you don't rush to Oliver very quickly. That's why I said this chapter, while not technically timed, is basically a timed mission. It's mostly for that Adept scroll. I was about to say you have a Death Wish, but you're attacking Janeth, not Tibon, so you at least have a slightly higher chance of living. You, on the other... Oh, yeah. Well, they're smart enough to not go for Tibon, at least. Also, if any of the NPCs, quote-unquote, die in this chapter, they'll come... Like, they won't die permanently. Even though the actual chances of Tibon going down here are, like, completely minimal, but... He does have a quote. I sort of thought you'd be doing that. Unfortunately, Cavalry does not include Pegasus Knights in this game, so the Longsword is not effective against them. Yeah, see, this is why this chapter goes by very quickly once the NPCs arrive. Because they tend to rush straight to Oliver. And that poor Armor Knight. Okay, like I said, this will probably be the last turn. Because Jill is going to be finishing off Oliver right now. And that means Nephany is going to be a little bit behind on experience, but it's a shame, but I might have to live with it for now. But this chapter is basically the Jill show, because, well, if it's Marsha, Marsha does great here as well. You just need a really strong flyer to get over to the Adept scroll quickly. Because Adept is an amazing skill. Not great, but... You know, speaking of that, I was actually kind of wondering, like, recently I was engaging in a little bit of, that's annoying. I was engaging in a little bit of, like, creating, like, level up quotes for custom characters, and I've always wondered a few things about Path of Radiance. If this game was like the newer ones, where everyone had different quotes for their different level ups, I wonder what some of those lines would be. The main thing that I find interesting, though, is, what would the Path of Radiance cast's personal skills be? That could be interesting to think about. Is that going to get you in? Yes, it is going to get you in range. Nice. I might actually need to get a critical, though. Because one idea I had for Stefan was, I was thinking that Stefan could have some kind of skill called Master Duelist or something, where he gets a boost when fighting bosses. Which sounds... I don't even know if it's that overpowered, because most bosses in this game are easy anyway, and it would be in character for him. There's a boss later on who gets special boss style with Stefan, and Stefan is just completely awesome in that conversation. But yeah, there's that. I kind of wonder what Soren's personal skill would be. I feel like it would reference his pragmatism in some way, maybe similar to Baruka's from Fates. And Jill, like, the one that I think I'm most interested in for the potential is Jill. I feel like Jill might be one of the few characters to have a personal skill that would change over the course of the game. It would start as some kind of Lagoo's enmity kind of thing, where she does more damage to Lagoo's, but then after a certain point, she'd actually get a different personal skill. Also, I feel like Z-Hark's personal skill would definitely be giving him some kind of boost when he's fighting near Lagoo's allies. That may not kill. And yeah, you need to be aware that he's going to be recovering 9 HP thanks to Nosferatu. So anyway, feel free to speculate on personal skills, but before that, it is time to take Oliver down, and his battle model is really, really, really hilarious. They literally just took the normal bishop model and just stretched it out. It's kind of silly, but it works, I guess. Unfortunately, no special dialogue with Jill here.
I cannot blame you for wanting to touch something so alluring as...
And so that ends the Bednion arc. The chase through Serenes Forest is over. But what comes next? We'll see. We finally found him. And he actually has a reason to talk to us now. Well, this is what she wanted after all. Let's hope this goes well. Yeah, it's a good thing we met Leanne, otherwise things could have gone a lot worse.
Mist, isn't that Mother's song?
Not quite. But it is close. Ike, look! Up there! It's incredible!
Lord of the Forest. He's returned.
Okay, you will have already seen the subtitles there, but I'm actually going to have to do research into what Ike is saying in that cutscene, because some of his lines I, to this day, still can't even make out. This is a really good background, though. And this is a great conclusion to the whole arc. Well, some of it at least. Seems like Soren still has a few issues going on. And yeah, with that, that's the end of that chapter. It all counts as one chapter for the purposes of bonus experience. And I think that's the maximum that you can get. So, with that, Day Breaks is finally over, and yeah, that one plot thing that I wanted to talk about, it is one of the few criticisms I have with this game's story. I feel like Leanne's existence isn't really foreshadowed, and really, she mainly exists as a Deus Ex Machina to make Rayson and Tibar not hate you. Because, like, look at the way Tiban acts throughout the entire Benyon arc. If you didn't know any better, you would think that he was going to be set up as a recurring antagonist or something. But just the fact that you happen to rescue another Heron, suddenly he's on your side now. And he is a very powerful ally. And definitely somebody you do not want against you. So that's convenient, but it does feel a bit like a Deus Ex Machina, that it's just like, because again, if Leanne wasn't there, Rayson would not have accepted Sanaki's apology at all. So it is a bit of a quick resolution to this plot that only happens due to a character that was never even hinted at suddenly appearing. It's still probably not as bad as a couple of issues in Radiant Dawn's plot, but I still kind of criticize it a little bit. But that said, I like the way that the Benyon arc plays out. There's a lot going on, a lot of subplots, a lot of characters introduced, a lot of lore on the world that has to be introduced. I think the game does a very good job of gradually building it up through the cutscenes with the various Laguz kings, and Sanaki explaining everything until it eventually all comes to a climax right here in Serenes Forest. And this was a pretty good way to end it. Now, it probably didn't need to be a 4-part chapter, that was a little bit excessive. Like I said, really only parts 3 and 4 are actually significant from a story standpoint, so it easily could have just been a 2-part chapter. But I do like the Benyon arc, and I think it's a great way to end off part 1 of the game, because the game takes a bit of a shift starting now. We're going to be getting a new promotion for Ike, a new battle theme. We're going to be getting a kind of, I don't know, it sounds weird to describe it this way, but a rebranding for the army. So things are going to be changing next time. And I like the next part of the game too. The second half of the game is also great. So look forward to that and Ike's promotion next time.